Introduction. The righteous also shall hold on his way, and he that hath clean hands shall be stronger and stronger. Job 18 verse 9. A more fitting introduction to this volume cannot be written than the following extracts from the experience and counsels of a few of the world's worthies, whose words are as apples of gold and pictures of silver. It is not good for human nature to have the road of life made too easy. Better be under the necessity of working hard and faring meanly than to have everything done ready to our hand and a pillow of down to repose upon. Indeed, to start in life with comparatively small means seems so necessary as a stimulus to work that it may almost be set down as the secret of success. Samuel Smiles. My dear Burke, you will agree with me that everyone must decide and direct his own course in life, and the only service friends can afford is to give us the data from which we must draw our own conclusion and decide our course. Allow me, then, to sit beside you and look over the field of life and see what are its aspects. Tell me, Burke, do you not feel a spirit stirring within you that longs to know, to do, and to dare, to hold converse with the great world of thought and hold before you some high and noble object to which the vigor of your mind and the strength of your arm may be given? Do you not have longings like these, which you breathe to no one, and which you feel must be heeded, or you will pass through life unsatisfied and regretful? I am sure you have them, and they will forever cling round your heart till you obey their mandate. They are the voices of that nature which God has given you, and which, when obeyed, will bless you and your fellow men. Now, all this might be true, and yet it might be your duty not to follow that course. If your duty to your father or your mother demands that you take another, I shall rejoice to see you take that other course. The path of duty is where we all ought to walk, be that where it may. But I sincerely hope that you will not, without an earnest struggle, give up a course of liberal study. Suppose you could not begin your study again till after your majority, it will not be too late then, but you will gain in many respects. You will have more maturity of mind to appreciate whatever you may study. You may say you will be too old to begin the course. But how could you better spend the earlier days of life? We should not measure life by the days and moments we pass on earth. The life is measured by the soul's advance, the enlargement of its powers, the expanded field where it ranges, till it burns and glows with heavenly joy, with high and heavenly hope. It need not be a discouragement that you will be obliged to hew your own way and pay your own charges. I know this, for I did so when teachers' wages were much lower than they are now. It is a great truth that, where there's a will, there's a way. The foregoing was written by James A. Garfield when he was a teacher of ancient languages at Hiram College, Ohio, at 26 years of age. The letter was addressed to his young friend of 19 years, Burke Hinsdale, whose environment was repressing his noble aspirations. In 24 years after this counsel was given, Garfield was President of the United States, and Hinsdale was President of Hiram College. If our young men miscarry in their first enterprise, they lose all heart. If the young merchant fails, men say he is ruined. If the finest genius studies at one of our colleges and is not installed in an office within 1 year afterward in the cities or suburbs of Boston or New York, it seems to his friends and to himself that he is right in being disheartened and in complaining the rest of his life. A sturdy lad from New Hampshire or Vermont, who teams it, farms it, peddles, keeps a school, preaches, edits a newspaper, goes to Congress, buys a township, and so forth, in successive years, and always, like a cat, falls on his feet, is worth 100 of these city dollars. He walks abreast with his days and feels no shame in not studying a profession, for he does not postpone his life but lives it already. He has not one chance, but 100 chances. Let a Stoic open the resources of men, and tell men they are not leaning willows, but can and must detach themselves, that, with the exercise of self-trust, new powers shall appear, that a man is of the Word made flesh, born to shed healing to the nations, that he should be ashamed of our compassion, and that the moment he acts from himself, tossing the laws, the books, idolatries, and customs out of the window, we pity him no more, but thank and revere him, and that teacher shall restore the life of man to splendor, and make his name dear to all history. Ralph Waldo Emerson. My entrance into the telegraph office was a transition from darkness to light, from firing a small engine in a dirty cellar to a clean office where there were books and papers. That was paradise to me, and I bless my stars that sent me to be a messenger in a Pittsburgh telegraph office. Young men should begin at the beginning. I was introduced to the broom and spent the first hours of my business life sweeping out the office, and several other boys, who afterward attained eminence, were my fellow sweepers. When I was a boy in Pittsburgh, Colonel Anderson, Allegheny, a name which I can never speak without feelings of devotional gratitude, opened his little library of 400 volumes to boys every Saturday afternoon. He was in attendance himself at his house to exchange books. No one but he who has felt it can know the intense longing with which the arrival of Saturday was awaited that a new book might be had. My brother, Thomas, and Mr. Phipps, who have been my principal business partners through life, shared with me Colonel Anderson's precious generosity, and it was when reveling in these precious treasures that I resolved if ever wealth came to me that it should be used to establish free libraries, that other poor boys might receive opportunities similar to those for which we were indebted to that noble man. The man who dies rich dies disgraced. That is the gospel I preach, that is the gospel I practice, and that is the gospel I intend to practice during what remains of my life. The poor boy, Andrew Carnegie, who was running a small engine in a dark, dirty cellar at 15 years of age, became the greatest steel and iron manufacturer in the world at 50, the Iron King of Pittsburgh. He is the head of a company commanding a capital of $30 million, more than half of it his own. He controls 20,000 operators, whose monthly payroll amounts to $1 million. His munificent gifts to establish public libraries and to promote other philanthropic and benevolent causes show that he does not mean to die rich. I was talking a few days ago with Mr. George W. Childs, and he gave me an illustration on this very point. Perhaps a little more than a score of years ago, there was not a periodical more famous or prosperous than Graham's Magazine. It was published in Philadelphia, and every great author of the time wrote for its pages. Washington Irving's best work was published in it. Edgar Allan Poe was one of the regular contributors. Longfellow, Emerson, Bryant, Thackeray, Mrs. Sigourney, and Lowell, who did not write for its pages and who did not know its publisher and owner. George W. Childs was then an office boy in a store opposite Mr. Graham's publishing house. "How often," said Mr. Childs to me, "have I stood on the sidewalk in front of the store where I was employed, resting my tired hand on my broomstick, and seeing Mr. Graham roll by in his magnificent equipage with some world-renowned author at his side, wondering if I would ever reach such a point of luxury in my struggling existence." Mr. Graham's Philadelphia home was the Mecca for all famous literary visitors to town, and there he entertained in sumptuous style the greatest literary lights that American literature has ever known. And today, lying in a hospital in the interior of New Jersey, is the once successful publisher of Graham's Magazine, sick and nearly blind, almost forgotten by the world, which hears nothing of him, and the boy who stood with his hand on his broom on the curb, envying his lot, is now his benefactor. But for the generosity of George W. Childs, sad indeed would be the lot of the forgotten publisher. All his bills are paid by Mr. Childs, every comfort is given him, all met from the purse of him who was a poor boy when Graham was a great publisher and editor. Edward W. Bok. This poor boy began his life's work in a bookstore at $2 a week, and he worked his way up to great wealth, influence, and distinction by his own persistent efforts. The most noteworthy feature of his life has been the facility with which he has won the lasting esteem of many great men of America and England, Irving, Bancroft, Prescott, Grant, Garfield, Motley, Gladstone, Farrar, Dickens, and a host of others. Our whole country is a great and speaking illustration of what may be done by the native force of mind, uneducated, without advantages, but starting up, under strong excitement, into new and successful action. What man can start in life with so few advantages as those with which our country started in the race of independence? Over whose private prospects can there hang a cloud as dark as that which brooded over the cause of America? Who can have less to encourage, and more to appall and dishearten him, than the sages and the chieftains of the Revolution? Let us, then, endeavor to follow in their footsteps, and each, according to his means and ability, try to imitate their glorious example, despising difficulties, grasping at opportunities, and steadily pursuing some honest and manly aim. We shall soon find that the obstacles that oppose our progress sink into the dust before a firm and resolute step, and that the pleasures and benefits of knowledge are within the reach of all who seek it. Edward Everett. Lives of great men all remind us. We can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. Let us, then, be up and doing, with a heart for any fate. Still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor and to wait. Longfellow. With the foregoing introductory words of the great, wise, and good, which I have taken the liberty to quote, I send forth this work to do whatever good it may in the broad world of aspiring men and women.